They say the show must go on. This phrase has long been used to encourage players to perform regardless of the circumstances. But when the circumstances become devastating, when people die faster than runs are scored, and I know how insensitive this sounds, but it's happening, can the show really go on? This question is at the center of a raging debate in India, a debate on the biggest sporting extravaganza in this country, the Indian Premier League, IPL. Should it be scrapped? Should it have been scrapped a few weeks ago? Should it continue? India is divided on this question. One side says there should be no place for entertainment amid such unprecedented grief and suffering. The other side says the IPL provides a window of escape, a distraction from the tragedy, and it doesn't consume frontline resources, so it should go on. What about the safety of the teams? They were supposed to be in secure bio bubbles. Well, those bubbles have been breached now. IPL players and staff have tested positive. 2 players were part of the Kolkata Knight Riders squad. 3 members of the Chennai Super Kings contingent. 5 DDCA ground staff have caught the Wuhan virus. Where does this leave the tournament and the safety of others? What happens to foreign players whose countries will not let them fly back home immediately? Here's a look at the political, social, legal and moral debates around the IPL.
The second wave hit India like a tsunami, forcing millions indoors again. In a country where cricket is followed like a religion, watching the IPL at home has become a lifeline for many. A much-needed break from the devastation around them. But can the games continue even when those playing are at risk? 2 players in the Kolkata Knight Riders squad are infected. 29-year-old leg spinner Varun Chakravarti and 30-year-old pacer Sandeep Warrier have both tested positive. Their match, scheduled for Monday, had to be postponed. Also infected are 3 staff members of the Chennai Super Kings contingent and 5 members of the Delhi and District Cricket Association staff. Clearly, the IPL's bio bubble has been breached, throwing the upcoming games into uncertainty. #Cancel IPL 2021 is trending. Critics ask if cricket is more important than the lives of players. Most questions are being directed at BCCI President Sourav Ganguly, who just last week had promised to continue the games despite international pullouts. This time the BCCI has maintained a worrying silence, and it's not helping the case. At least 30 international players and cricketing staff are currently in India. Most of them are from Australia and New Zealand. Both countries have imposed a travel ban on India. They've asked players to not fly back home, threatening them with legal action if the ban is defied. Australia's chief medical officer has issued a warning. He says the stranded citizens face the prospect of serious illness without proper health care. The result is this: many foreign players and staff have been forced to take refuge elsewhere. Like former Australian cricketer Michael Slater, who has flown to the Maldives and is awaiting permission to travel home. The player has publicly slammed his government, saying, "If our government cared for the safety of Aussies, they would allow us to get home. It's a disgrace. Blood on your hands, Prime Minister. How dare you treat us like this?" Back in Sydney, the Australian Cricket Association says it's doing everything possible to get the players home.
Look, I think in any COVID environment you have to have multiple plans, so we'll have a number of different scenarios. So we're obviously in contact with Cricket Australia at the moment and government, but in a perfect sense, the numbers might stabilise and we'll be able to get our players all back onto normal commercial flights at some point at the end of the tournament.
There are reports of the travel ban being challenged in Australian courts. Health Minister Greg Hunt says the move is lawful. It's the first time Australian citizens and permanent residents are being prevented from entering their own country. Players testing positive, matches getting postponed, and international cricketers being abandoned by their home countries. At the onset of IPL, the authorities claimed to be conducting the tournament for the sake of humanity. Now, for the sake of the safety of the players, they must find a solution. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.